So this approach won't work. This approach of setting the socket up for users connected won't work that way. So we will now shift to another approach in which we will play a game of cookies, where a cookie will be granted to the user only if the client full access is given to the client. The cookie will be granted to the user, and that cookie will also have a time limit. Once the time limit is full, that cookie will not be usable, and that client will not be accessible to the client will not get an access to the application. So let's play that game of cookies. The cookie will be granted only if the client approves all the client approves of all the conditions of accessing the application. If not, then we will send that client to the real-time queue. In that case, we don't have to generate a cookie anyways, I feel. I don't know what will come up next, but for now, let's consider that we are not going to generate any cookie while the WebSocket connection, because anyways, we are not going to access any client information or any backend or any database servers in that case. So in that case, the client can simply have a WebSocket connection set up with the server, and the operation can go on. But in this case, the critical part is that we don't want any other user with the same who can copy the same cookie and then get access here. So for that, we will use the client authentication information. In this case, the authentication information will be given by the server in the form of a cookie. The authentication information is stored in the form of tokens in a cookie in that way itself. But in this case, we will be doing something on a very low level. Let's see how we can do that. So all of these socket connections is not of use for now for the client connected. And let's just keep it as client connected, and we won't emit anything over up here. We'll just set up a socket connection first, and once the socket connection, we don't need to set up a socket connection as well, I feel. Okay, so let's not do anything here. Let's just declare this function. We'll have to use it later on. Now the part is that if we have cookies, then we will just go to next. We will perform some check over here. But if the client is given full access, we will send the message as access granted. Along with that, we will also set cookies, rest.cookies. The cookie name would be ID. So it will be an identifier, and that identifier will be decided by the application itself. So I'll have to add some hash value over here, and once that hash value is added, we can then also set some other properties of this cookie. I'll just check how these cookies are to be set. So we are doing rest.cookie name, whatever is the identifier, and some maximum age and all of those things. So I'll also take this random number out of here. Fine. So that would help us. I'll just take this random numbers. We'll generate a random number first, and fine. So once we generate that random number, we will set the cookie. Along with that, we will also send this to users connected array. The random number has to be sent. So in real world scenario, this would be handled by JWT tokens or any authentication mechanism of that sort. But in this case, we will do a basic mechanism for ourselves so that we can implement our entire functionality. Okay, so once this is done, we return, or else we can also go to next. But would that be okay? So no. So we'll simply return here. Never mind. Because we are already sending the response, we cannot do that again. Okay. Okay, so once this is done, we send a cookie to the user. Once the cookie is sent, the user has the cookie now. Now, once the user has a cookie, we can now proceed with our application. Okay, so also let's not keep a count of users on board. I think that is not needed. We have a users connected array, and that users connected array will take care of these things, right? Okay, so now we have fixed this. The cookie is being visible on the browser, and once I refresh, the cookie persists, and it still is there. I just set the max age back to 2 minutes, and the changes that I did was in app.use I just added the origin and credentials are set to true, which was the problem which I found on the GitHub issue. And once the cookies are set, the user has 2 minutes and the user can do anything on the website. If the cookie is set, then no problem, everything is fine. But if not, then the user will face a problem. Now let's see what we can do here. If we have cookies and rec.cookies.id, then let's check that uh, if users connected dot has rec.cookies.id, then what we'll do is we will return next. If the user is present, then we will return next, or else we will have to send a response saying you are not authorized, message error, and we will, okay, so the message will be you are not authorized. So, okay, so let's say authentication error. So if user connected as rec.cookies.id, then we go to next, and obviously, yeah, the things will work. The ID is same. Yeah, that works. I'll just do one thing. Once we go to next, we need to have a response, and the response that I'm receiving is access denied, which is not something that I want. I want the user account to be displayed. So if users connected dot has if I call, if I return next here, I want to go to this handler now, and once I get to this handler, I just want to send the response, but that is not working because I'm not getting into this handler for some reason. Okay, so it is stating that the access to fetch at this origin at this endpoint has been locked by the cost policy. So in header we cannot have wildcard stuff. So maybe I'll just try changing it to localhost uh, 3000. Let's try this if it works. And again we have an error here, user connected dot has. Okay, so user connected dot includes will be the function. So user connected is the array, and using includes we will check if this ID is present in the user connected. If it is present, then we will send it forward for the route handler. Else we will set this user up again from the start. Fine. So let's see if that works. Access granted. Once this access is granted, if I do that again, then I get user count equals to 5. Now the part is that if I am setting this cookie, I don't need to return a response over here because we are not setting up any WebSocket connection at the end of the day. So I'll just call next over here. That should work for me, and I should get user count directly. Yeah. So currently there are two requests that are going simultaneously. So that occurs when React works in that way. So in the development mode, React works in that way. So that is why that issue is there. But it would be gone as soon as we build this up and then we start running this application. Okay, fine. So this is fine. Now is the time of real-time queue. So for the real-time queue, what is more important is that we will have a cookie here. So that cookie will be for everyone because we will have to send the cookie anyways because we have to keep a track of the users. If the user closes his tab and again logs in, then we need to keep a track that this cookie doesn't expire, and we will I mean, we will also have to allow the user to get access to the application. Okay, fine. So, okay, so this is a cookie for ID. Now, let's look at what real for the real-time queue. So if a user comes in and users connected is filled, so we have a limit of 3 over here. If there are three, we don't have any limit for endless queue. If there are three users already connected, then now the next user will be sent to the real-time queue. So if it is not less than three, that is if it is equal to three and real-time queue length is less than three, now the part is that we have to set up a WebSocket connection so that we can get real-time information and any socket events that are being emitted by the server. So now here we will, okay, so here we will send the response. Along with the response, I think we'll also send the cookie. So for now, let's send the cookie. Uh, let's not think a lot about it. For now, let's send the cookie. Let's see if we don't need it later on. We'll check that later. So we'll send it to the real-time queue file. So we'll send it to the real-time queue. Now, for real-time queue, let's have a cookie as well, and we will not keep its max age as 2 minutes. Its max age would be greater than 2 minutes. Let's say it should be somewhere around 3000. Uh, okay, so for a single day, so let's say 1440. I guess that's right. Yeah, so 1440 minutes. Okay. So we have 24 hours and 1 hour as 60 minutes. So 1440 minutes. We will have that random number and we will send that cookie to the user. Now, once that cookie is sent to the user, we will also set up a WebSocket connection over here. Before this, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that whenever the user disconnects here, we also have to send that information to the server so that the user's connected queue is decremented and a person from the real-time queue is added to the user's connected queue. So for that, what we can do is we can start a timer in the front end, and once that timer reaches the max age we have kept as 2 minutes. So once that timer reaches to let's say 1 minute 50 seconds or something, before 10 seconds, we will send a request, and that will do our work. So that request will be sent, and once that request is sent, for that request as well, we will have this authentication mechanism, and the middleware will check if the request is authorized. If the request is authorized, then we will simply remove the user from the user's connected queue. Anyways, after 10 seconds, the user's cookie is going to exhaust, and after that, if the user wants to get into the application again, the user will have to be at the end of the queue. So that will be taken care of anyways. So what is more important here is that after a certain amount of time, that is before 5 or 10 seconds, we will simply send a request from the server side. That can be done using WebSocket as well, but let's not get into it. So first, let's simply send a request from the user side. As soon as we get a response here, as soon as we get a response, we have fetched data. Now, once we fetch data, we will start a timer. We will also keep a track of a state. Let's say set timer, and by default it is going to be false, use state false. But once we fetch data, we will set timer to true. Once the timer is set, we will have another use effect hook which depends on the value of timer. If timer is true, if timer, then we will set timeout. So we will use this now. Set timeout for a one-time timer. We will start the timer for, let's say it's for 2 seconds, right? We need it for how many seconds? For let's say, so 120,000 seconds is 2 minutes. I'll say 110,000 seconds. So yeah, that is right, 110,000 seconds. And after 110,000 seconds, we will just console.log that the uh, time is being exhausted. Okay, so 10 seconds remaining. We will just say 10 seconds remaining, and then we will send a request. So I'll say const response equals fetch. Let's say HTTP localhost 8000 and push the endpoint would be push queue. So I'll also have to send my cookies with it. So I'll say credentials as include. So the cookies will also be included with the response. I'll say await over here. Okay, so I'll just say send request function, and let's declare this function out here. Send request async, and we have this function response. We await for a response. Once we get this, convert it into JSON, await response dot JSON. Once we get this response, I can simply let's not do anything as of now. Okay, so okay. So once we receive this response, we'll check for the response. If the message that we have received, that is JSON dot message, is equal to success, then we can simply redirect the user to some other, to the wait, waiting route, and that's it. So for navigate, I'll have to import something. Uh, okay, so the user count is 2 and 3. Now let's see if after 2 minutes, if this request again comes up, we should see some kind of error over here because this route is not defined. So let's see if that comes up. Apart from that, now we also have to set up the application for people who are getting into the real-time queue. So if we have this, we will set cookie, and then once the cookie is set, we have an ID for that. Okay, so this ID will be the person's the okay. So this would be the ID itself. Let's keep it as ID, and that ID will have a max age of day full. And if this user gets into the users connected array, then the ID, then the max age of that ID will decrease to 2 minutes only. Okay, fine. So let's see. Now, what we'll be doing is we will deal with this real-time queue. So in the real-time queue, first we post a random number. Along with that, we also sent a cookie. Along with the cookie, we also have sent a message that access is denied, and the queue is real-time queue. So now we will have to uh, get to the front end here. We will check what the message is. So from fetch data, we have JSON response. Okay, so here we have an error because 404 not found, and but we were also not allowed to redirect. Okay, so we will check this afterwards. Why were we not able to redirect? But this is working. Okay, fine. Okay, so first let's figure this out. Let's figure the endpoint out. So the endpoint that we are hitting onto is push queue. So we have to push the queue here. So app.get push queue, all the authentication checks will be performed. Then we will take a request response. So if we have to push this queue, what I'll do is users underscore connected dot shift. If so, users dot connected dot shift, and it will return some element. Let's say user. We don't have to deal with that user. So users connected dot shift. Once the users connected dot shift is done, it will remove that element from the array, and along with that, now we have a space in the array. So here now what we'll do is we will push. We will also get. Okay, so we'll just say let user equals users connected dot shift. I will now set this user as real time queue dot shift because we need first user from the real time queue. Once we get this user from the real time queue, now I want this user to get access to all of these things. So I'll just say that just take this user and push it to the users connected array. In this users connected array, I'll push this user. Once this user is pushed into the users connected array, whenever the checks will be performed, all of these things will be taken care of. Okay. Now, the part is that we are pushing this user into the users connected array. Along with that, we also have to set a cookie for that user whenever a response comes up. Okay, so how will we do that? Or else we'll have to send some event onto the event to this user. Okay, so let's do that then. Let's send an event. So I'll just write it down here. Comment it. I'll just comment it down here that send a WebSocket event to the user to connect. So things will be taken care of later on. We need the request to be sent from the user itself. We cannot do this here because if we do that here, then we will miss out on the fact that we have to set a cookie for only 2 minutes. We have to set the timer only to 2 minutes. So that will create a problem for us, right? Okay, so never mind. This is done. So let's do one thing. Let's just set this limit to one for users connected. Let's set this limit to one, and for real time view also, let set the limit to one so that we can observe it properly. And hopefully that will do for us. Let's see. Let's see if that works.